that's all I ever wanted to do. When I was like 13 or 14, the local newspaper came to our school and they interviewed a bunch of us, and they asked what we want to do, and I said I want to be an illustrator, and I became one. I didn't think I would ever do it, but through hook or crook, I managed to. It was something I was passionate enough about to actually go and follow through with. I am just trying to prolong being a 15-year-old boy as long as I can. Skulls, women, superheroes, weird shit. That's what I want to do. And that's kind of, I try to take jobs where I can do that, where those are my strengths, that's where my interests lie. I don't want to draw buildings. So that's what I describe my style as, just forever trying to be on summer vacation. I really take pride in it being hand-drawn and trying to perfect that part of it. A lot of kids coming up, because of all the programs that are out, like Manga Studio and Painter and Photoshop and Illustrator, like they try to replicate the stuff that I do and that other artists do digitally, and it just has no life or soul, and it's very cold. And and when they see my work, they only see a JPEG of it on a website, and they assume it's done digitally until they see that it's drawn by hand. And it's kind of fun to blow people's minds, to be like, no, there's actually a piece of art. This isn't a file. And I'm always trying to be influenced by new stuff, because it's a painful death to not evolve as an artist. One year my brother for Christmas bought me a Crayola Caddy, I guess it was called. And it was like this little carousel that had like markers and crayons and stuff like that. And I was so excited, to have that. And I opened it up right away, and we took it to the family dinner that we'd have for the holidays. And I would draw all my relatives and stuff like that. And like, that was really cool. Then after that would be going, in high school, your friends, like showing your friends, stuff you draw, and showing your teachers and the encouragement there as well. They would enter our work into competitions, and sometimes you'd win in a competition. So that was, build morale. It was a good thing. Before my mom passed away, we finally were able to, she was finally able to understand what I did, and she was very proud of me, and I'm very happy that I got closure with her a couple of years before she died. And I was able to do that through 1 year on the Warped Tour. I had toured and with everybody, with all the bands. I was on a tour bus and went to every city, and we went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And my mom lived there, and it's where I grew up. And I asked her to come out. I was like, please come out, check out the show. And up until then, she kind of thought I was just chasing this really stupid dream of being an artist, because she grew up thinking, artists and musicians are just broke motherfuckers who live off their parents. And I didn't really do that. I took her to the show, and the attendance was like 20,000 kids, and they were all holding posters. And she saw me do a signing, and saw this like really large line of kids. And I introduced her to some of the bands, and she was really she didn't know any better who the bands were, and they were laughing. And but then I just kind of, like, it was the end of the day, I was like, look around you. I was like, do you see all these kids? She's like, yeah. I was like, do you see what they're holding? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, I designed that. That's what I did. And they're going to take it home, hang it up, get it tattooed on them, whatever, redraw it. I affected them today. And that after that, she understood what it was that I do.
I was at Comic-Con, and my friend from my local comic shop asked me, have you seen Brian Ewing's artwork? And I said no. And he took me to Brian's booth, and I met him for the first time, and immediately I was like, I'm in. Any band I liked or listened to, Brian had already made artwork of it. This past summer was the very first Comic-Con that, Brian wasn't there. There was this sweet moment, though, where I was working my booth. These two guys had come up and asked me, hey, there was a guy last year where he described a skull, and anyone that knows Brian's art, like, the guy drew the best skulls in the world, and so I had to break it to these two guys that Brian had passed, and Brian made such a connection with these people, so it just threw me back into that headspace of like, that's the experience I had when I first met him. He had that way of connecting with people, and it didn't matter who you were. It was bittersweet to see that these guys, in their moments with Brian that they had a year ago, they made it a point to look for him, as I would as a kid. I would go and seek out Brian's booth every year at Comic-Con, and these guys were doing the same. But I love that in a span of 20 years from when I met Brian to just a year ago, his effect never changed. Like, his artwork still tapped into people. It made them want to come back. And it's a rare quality.
Lucky to have people in my life with the power to break my heart. In love, feeling up with love, I'm feeling love. Walking next to you, I'm walking next to him. Love, what's it gotta do? Yeah, what's it gotta do?
I remember meeting Brian almost 20 years ago, maybe more, at Comic-Con. It was an artist in Artist Alley, and his work was elevating all my favorite bands, in my opinion. It was rare to see something outside of the usual mass merchandise product for bands I loved, and his stuff just cut right through. But what lasted with me at that moment, from that moment, is how kind, generous, and respectful he was to my brother and I, who were teenagers. Kept tabs on his work, obviously, as a fan. I stayed a fan, and I remember when my artwork started popping off, and he followed me one day on Instagram. I was like, holy crap, Brian Ewing follows me. How cool is that? And I really felt like, for the first time, someone who I respect in this business was taking me seriously, giving me the time of day. And I don't know if he knew it at the time, but it was everything I needed in my life at that moment. Brian and Andrea, you guys, I love you so much. I miss you incredibly. And the only thing I can think to do now is continue to share my love of your work and the relationship we had and the friendship we had, and hope that I can continue your legacy by modeling that same behavior. It's hard. I aspire to it. I aspire to your kindness. I aspire to your level-headedness, to your artistic brilliance, to your ability to be respected and loved by your peers, and for your ability to leave a lasting impression on everybody who knew you. I love you, my friend. I miss you. It's not the same without you here, and I wish I could talk to you right now. I love you.
With this, ragtag band of ne'er-do-wells that we call our con family, we're always bringing new people into the fold, and we all have good judgment usually with the people that we bring into it, and a new person, like every year we have a new person that somehow just kind of like hangs out with us, and they become part of our family, and then we can't wait to see that person as well the next year, and you develop all these relationships that you never could have if you weren't doing the convention. Basically that, I just enjoy having some time to enjoy my friends, because it's hard to, when all you do is you're just constantly at your booth selling, talking, having the same conversation 4 times with the same person because you forgot, and it's just nice to relax. Being there, talking to people, and just kind of leaving an impression with them. These are things, when they say you have to network, it sounds like all you do is sit in a bar and just kind of like go up to everybody and show them give them a business card and ask for a business card back. That's not really it. Like, that was my impression when people talk about networking. It's actually just one-on-one time and just making jokes with that person, or finding some common ground with them that has nothing to do with the business that you're in.
My career and the stuff that I do, and every time I do a project, it is what really makes me happy. Drinking booze, eating a nice meal, that kind of makes me happy for a little bit, but all this other stuff is really, it's like, wow, I taught myself this stuff, and I'm just making things. Like, that's really exciting to me.